brand new to Samrog, and we are excited that you're giving us your time to show us a raid trial so that you can demonstrate what you know. These people are brand new. We do have a few people that are also fairly new to the wing as well, and they wanted to spectate if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Would you mind streaming?
I don't mind it. No promises that my computer can actually handle it, but I haven't tried that in a while, so I will attempt to, and we can see if that works.
Okay,
I certainly don't mind it, though.
If it works out, then we'd love for for some of the other people to get more of a demonstration. If it starts to cause you to lag, then that works too. It looks good.
Oh, I should probably switch languages.
Okay, so everyone, this is Belle, and I'm going to lend her the spotlight. It's on you. We're ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah. Hello. It's nice to meet you all. So, I guess just to give a little bit of a background on my relationship to this game, I'm coming up on, it is my first dear baby's third year of existence, my Scrapper, in a couple of months. I've been playing for about 3 years now. It actually took me quite a while. Well, relatively speaking, in the game, it actually took me quite a while to get into raiding and fractals and such, because I just simply thought, well, it's just not content that I could ever do. The community is too closed. The stuff is too hard. There's just not really a way into that. And so once I finally did get into it, I sort of took it upon myself in the way that a lot of the people here seem to have, to sort of break that mold and change that narrative. And it's awesome to see you all here. Also looking to do that and get into raiding, because Lord knows it always needs new people. That's the thing it needs more than anything else. So always happy to see that. So yeah, I guess that pretty much covers it for me, unless people have questions about me or had anything else to say on that regard. Otherwise, we can start sort of talking about, I don't know, my understanding is that the composition is largely in place already. Let me see if I can get in there to try to help figure it out a little bit. But I see that we have a Revenant. Is that Revenant set up to produce Alacrity? Do you know if you are set up for that? Awesome. Okay. And
Question?
Oh yes.
How different is this than World versus World in PvP? Because normally I just pay people to run me through these things, and apparently I'm out of gold. So, and Callie says raid is fun.
How different is it? So, gear-wise, the biggest differences are that, generally speaking, here gear is optimized purely towards damage, which is not what is usually done in World v World and PvP. Sometimes, but usually you have a lot more things to consider. But the expectation in most raids is that you are gearing them in a much more aggressive fashion. And it's a lot more about being able to recognize patterns the game is giving you, and then executing particular tasks in response to those patterns. So it sort of is much more that type of game where you're going to see a very large creature do a thing, and that is going to be your sign to do some other thing. And being able to sort of have that kind of call and response is going to be much more the trick than anything else, really. So
that makes it sound like Dark Souls, and that scares me.
Well, then I sure hope that you haven't seen what this boss looks like yet, because you're only going to more feel that way in a second. I promise. No, we're going to do just
inspire confidence.
Because we just got done doing Cairn and this little statue chessboard thing, so...
Yeah, so those don't look too much like Dark Souls. Samurag, a little more. Let me get into the instance and see what the situation is. And then we can get rolling, because I know that we're on a relatively limited clock tonight. So I want to get us started. All right, so I see we're mostly in the instance. We have a couple more, so Elusive Predator and Plumart. Whenever it is that you can go ahead and enter into the wing, either by walking over to the Bastion of the Penitent door, which is fourth from the left if you're looking at the top-down map. But also, if you're in the squad, you can also just leave the aerodrome and re-enter it in any fashion, and it'll give you the auto prompt again.
Yeah, I'm getting in there.
And one more thing, Belle.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually the last one trialing today, so you have all the time you need. No rush.
Okay. Well, great. That's awesome. Still, hopefully, we won't waste anybody's time, because I know it's precious. At least I'm sure it is. But that's good to know. That's good to know. Okay, so everybody, I see we already have an instance. That's wonderful. Everybody can go ahead and walk up to the ley rift, which is over here on the right, this green glowing thing, and you can use it to go to the, I believe it is the compound entrance. I can never remember now that I'm a little rusty on whether no, it's the second one. Okay, right. So they always go in the order where, so you want to go to the recreation room. It is, I could never remember whether it's they show the earliest one at the top or the latest one at the top. It's the earliest one at the top. So we can go over here to the recreation room where we've just been cleared from Mersat Overseer.
Oh, this is the chessboard we just did earlier
Yep.
today.
So just did that one, and now you walk up here, and there's this big old gate here. When you walk up to it, you'll notice that you get a special buff called Gift of True Sight. You can use this only once you've walked up to the door. You can then go back into the previous rooms and you can scour about for rubble that will give you a key. And when 4 people have walked up to this and used a key on it, then it opens. Alternately, our dear Daredevil friend, if they are here at the door right now, can just walk up to the door and interact with it and save us all the trouble.
I can pick this.
Reminds me of D&D.
Hey, I'm useful. GG.
That is a class-specific skip here, so there are, in fact, many groups. You will you will see many groups where they actually don't even know how to do the rebel part because they have
is that
seen
thing?
only the thief ever. Like they've only ever brought a thief in and picked the door. So many people don't know how to do that part. But if you're ever in a group that doesn't have a thief, all you have to do is make sure you've walked up to the door, gotten the True Sight buff, and then you just walk around in the previous places until you find the key. And 4 of you just have to do that and come back. It's really not a big deal. So once you've done that, you can walk on up here. Yeah, no farther than the challenge mode or so, because otherwise we risk activating it. And up here, we were talking Dark Souls. Here's our new puppy, Samarag. Yes, all of his.
So let's go this way.
Yeah, just gonna turn around and just walk up now. All right, so do we have everybody? Looks like everybody's actually up here. So I'm just gonna do a quick ready check. This is just one to say, hey, yes, I'm ready to hear some instruction about the boss. So once that pops, then we'll actually start talking about what's going on here.
All right, so yes, if I okay, there we go.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to teach this. I think I usually tend to teach this one in 2 phases. So what that does mean is we're going to have to be ready, at least on our first pull, to purposely wipe at a certain point. So just so you know, we're going to get to like 66%, and then we're all just going to GG. Or maybe we'll watch a little to just watch and then expect to die. That's going to be fine. Otherwise, it'll be way too much to talk about at one time. So there's good news and there's bad news when it comes to dealing with Samarag. The good news is that, for the most part, all of his attacks, at least relative to some of the other bosses that you'll encounter in general, all of his attacks are really, really heavily telegraphed. Samarag goes well out of his way to let you know what he's about to do. And so in that way, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to recognize what's happening and react to it. So that's the good news. The bad news is failure to do that is particularly punishing here. So it's easier to pass mechanics, but it hurts more when you fail them than in a lot of fights. So you're going to want to keep your focus, as is true on any raid, but especially on this one, on making sure that you can focus them just on those mechanics. Worry about the rotation and the DPS a little less, and that should be your mantra whenever you're learning a new boss. But certainly here, a little less on those and a little more on, oh, okay, I know now when he does this that I'm supposed to do that. So when we first enter the room, he is going to select a target to be his tank. So you have, if you've only done Cairn and MO, the statue, then you haven't really experienced too much that has to do with tanking mechanics. But basically, this is when the boss has one particular player that they direct all of their attacks at. In most fights, this is determined by the player with the highest toughness, which means that we can manipulate it by knowing that in advance and picking somebody to have the highest toughness. In others, it's chosen by the team because there's some sort of mechanic that lets you choose it. And in some others, it's chosen in some way that makes it harder for us to actually predetermine it. In the case of Samarag, he selects whoever is farthest away from him at certain moments to be the tank. When we all run in, though, on this first run in, the game's going to have a hard time deciding who that is. So the first person picked will probably be pretty random. But after that, it's really quite formulaic because it's always going to be the person farthest from him at a certain moment we'll talk about later. So that person, and it will say on your screen in big old letters, if you're that person, it will say, you've been fixated by Samurag. So you'll know you're the tank. You'll also know, and so will everybody else, because you're going to have a big old shiny purple diamond above your head. So everyone's going to know, including you, that you're the tank. As a tank, your main job is going to be to just try to keep him in the middle of this arena here. And I'm going to mark it with an arrow. Wait, there. That's a pretty good. Yeah, sure, there we go. So we're just going to try to keep him to the best of our ability here. The reason we do that is because, as you can see around the arena, there are these really sharp spears that are everywhere on the outside. And a lot of his attacks are going to try to push you into those. And although they don't technically kill you instantly, they basically do. So if we keep him in the middle, the more we can do that, the more that you can get knocked around and bullied by him and not ultimately end up in the spears, in case you make mistakes.
I in fact do not want to become a pincushion.
Yeah, see, so you don't want to be, you might see all around there. I actually don't know if they do show too many here, but there are quite a few people who have already done it, and it doesn't look like they've had a very good time. So we don't want to join them. So, okay, so we will enter. He's going to pick a tank. It will feel at random on the first one. It's not, but it'll feel that way. For everybody, including them, we're going to run on in up to Samurag. And he is always going to do, or almost always, I think it might be literally always. My sense is it's literally always going to start with one of the two auto attacks that he basically has. And this is the good part about Samurag. So in most of his phases, he's only going to be doing two things. And the first one that we're going to see is the Claw and Shockwave, which I'm only going to call Shockwave, but it actually has two parts. So the one type of attack he has, he will get up on his hind legs, and he will take his front legs, and he will actually claw in front of him at the tank. So he's going to just get up, and he's going to slash, slash, slash at the person that is the tank. And once he's done doing that, he's going to take both of his spears that he has had lifted up because he's on his hind legs. He'll take both the spears and slam them into the ground, creating a shockwave. This shockwave, if you don't deal with it in some manner, will knock you backward and hurt you and stun you. It may well knock you into the spears. That would be bad. But it might also knock you into other places you don't want to be. So it's just generally not good. The good news is there's lots of things you can do to avoid the shockwave because it's a very, it's not any sort of like special mechanic in that regard. So things you can do to avoid the shockwaves when they come. You can jump them. Easy as that. You can dodge them. You can also use stability to counter them. The one thing you cannot do is you cannot block them. So do not attempt to use a channel block or something. That's not going to cut it. Why? I don't know. That's just kind of one of those things. Sometimes raid mechanics are like that. You sort of just need to test what they allowed and what they didn't allow. In this case, you can't block them, but you have lots of other options.
Huh?
It's okay, I can't block anyway.
Yeah, see, so now you've barely even lost anything. For, let's see, for Necro, so which one are you specifically? You're a Scourge. You should definitely bring Flesh Golem. For sure, for something we're going to talk about in a second. Definitely going to be Flesh Golem, though.
Thank you.
So, okay, so his one attack you'll see is he's going to scrape the front, and then he's going to slam his spears down. So in order to avoid the damage from him scraping in front of him, you just want to be behind him. And then when he finally slams his spears down, you want to be ready to, and I'll call all these out, but you want to be ready to jump it or dodge it or stability it if you have it, something like that. The second auto attack he does, and these are the only two attacks we're going to see for a while. The other attack he can possibly do is he will take just his one spear, his right one, and he's going to swing it around like a baseball bat. So he's going to take a big old wind up with his right hand, and after a few seconds of doing that, he's going to do a huge double swipe one way and then back that covers 180 degrees in front of him. So the whole area in front of him. So you're going to be really tempted to be like just on his side and call cheating when he swipes and hits you with it anyway. It's the whole 180, no matter what the animation looks like. So the best solution to that is also be behind him. Because if you're behind him when he swipes, then you're not going to get hit by that. So really, for both attacks, the answer is as soon as you see that he starts attacking, just be behind him. And then with the shockwave, you'll also have to be ready to deal with the shockwave. So for most of this phase, it's really just going to be stick to his butt and, watch for which of those two attacks. They're super telegraphed. You're going to pick up which one is which really fast, but it's good to be keeping an eye on that. One thing for our tanks to know, keep on the booty. One thing for our tank to know that's really important, and for everybody else, but especially our tank, whenever he starts doing an attack, he locks in place. So that means that for our tank, as soon as you see that he starts to get up on his hind legs to claw at you, for instance, you can literally just walk right through his hitbox and stand behind him with everyone else until he's finished doing the attack, and then you can go back in front of him again. Because once he just begins and picks his location, he's not going to move anymore until he's done attacking. So there's plenty of time there, too, for you to just get out of the way, let him do the thing, and then get right back in front of him again. You don't have to eat those attacks or anything. I mean, you can if you want to, but I'll promise you'll find that they hurt quite badly. So I wouldn't terribly advise it. So, okay, so he's going to go back and forth doing literally those two attacks, and that's it. Shockwave or the baseball bat. Those two. Until he hits 90%. So at 90%, and at every subsequent 10%, Samurag is going to have enough of us, and he is going to find the tank, and he's going to leap on top of the tank. He's going to literally just pound them with his spears his plan is to just pound them with his spears until they die. Our plan is to make sure that doesn't happen. So the way we do that is that as soon as he leaps onto his target, which is the tank, he's going to become completely invulnerable to damage. Don't bother trying to sneak or greed any DPS into this phase. You cannot even hurt him, so there's no point. And instead, he's going to get a ginormous CC bar. So this MO and Cairn both did not have CC bar mechanics. So this will sort of be an introduction to that. If anybody here is, new to raids other than this wing, or this is their only wing, then they won't have seen a lot of this. CC bars are broken by using, so it's called crowd control, and it's by using crowd control skills that have effects that would normally launch or stun or knock down or slow an enemy. So the kinds of things that would normally move an enemy around, those are the sorts of things that lower a CC bar, right? Because they don't actually want us to be able to knock a legendary creature around. So instead they give us this bar that we can pour all those skills into to try to deplete the bar. So that means it's really important that we bring our utility skills that allow us to break this really large crowd control bar.
As a heal brand, what would you want me to bring for my utilities?
So you can use your standard set for the most part, but if you wanted to add, so that would be like the mantras. I assume you're running probably the mantras and the Bow of Truth, or maybe just all mantras.
Right now I'm running heal mantra, quickness mantra, hold the line, and retreat. Or, well, advance.
Yeah, old habits, huh?
Yeah.
So especially because block doesn't actually stop the shockwave here, you can definitely drop advance, and you could drop that for something that can help us with this the CC bar. So, for instance, the Spirit Hammer, or Bane Signet, because activating Bane Signet's a 3-second knockdown, which is really strong. So, I would say I would drop advance for one of those two, because the Aegis here is a lot less valuable than it can be at some other places. And anybody else, and I can advise people too, and we may need to, depending on how the bar is breaking, I may increase my intervention into this. But anybody else who can like flip a damage thing, say, oh, hey, I happen to have something that launches people really far, or I've got something that knocks people down a lot, or stuns them, or dazes them. Those are the kinds of things we're going to need to get through that bar. So, okay, so let's say go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So
No.
he's got three phases he does with his spears.
So he's going to be doing, for most of the time, he's going to be doing two things with the spears. He's either going to be lifting them both up as he claws and then slamming them down. So that's like one attack.
Okay, and that's the shockwave you were talking about.
Yep, that's the shockwave. The other thing he will be doing during his normal phase is that he'll be doing the baseball bat or the swing or the sweep or whatever you want to call it, where he'll take specifically his right hand and swing it around really like a Babe Ruth or something. It's really exaggerated. And then he's going to double swing it in front of him. So for most of the time, he's going to be doing only those two.
They'll be behind Sam when he does that. Gotcha.
Yep, and yep, for either one of those, that's when you have to be behind him. And then at every 10%, he's going to jump onto the tank and start doing this thing where he becomes invulnerable and gets this big CC bar that we need to break by using all of our crowd control skills on him. And during that phase, our healers can continue to heal the tank. The tank's getting tons of damage from Samurag, but you can totally also keep healing the tank through to try to help them get through that phase. The longer that we can heal them and keep them alive, the longer we have to break the bar. So you can, as our druid and our heal brand can totally still just keep pouring healing onto our tank to just buy us more time to break through the bar.
Do you want me to staff DPS or do you want me to heal Scourge?
I mean, start with what you're comfortable with, and we'll worry about making adjustments depending on how we're doing. But you can start with what it is that you want to play, and then I'd always rather start with what people want to play, and then only make adjustments as it looks like, okay, we clearly need X or Y, then we can move more in those directions. So let's say we break the bar successfully, and our tank is still alive. Then what happens next is so this is that moment, at every 10%, right after we break the bar and save the tank, he's going to select the farthest person from him at that exact moment, and that's going to be our new tank. So that might be something worth keeping in mind if you don't want to be the tank, is don't be the person farthest from Samurag when that bar breaks, because that's going to be who ends up getting the tank. We can talk later about who you might want to have doing that, but I'm really not too worried about it at this phase. But just so you know that's how it's done, he'll pick a new person at that point by being the farthest away, and then that person just tries to keep him in the middle like the last person did. Every tank's job, regardless of who it is, will mostly just be keep him in the middle, and once you see he starts attacking, just step out of his way like everybody else. The last thing I'll say before we get some pulls in here is that you'll see that he will occasionally drop. You'll see some orange circles start to fill up randomly on the arena, and when those orange circles fill, a huge spear is going to come from the sky and drop down onto that orange circle, and it's going to look like it sort of has a dust cloud or something around it, in the same shape as the orange circle was. These spears, if you are inside that orange circle, they will continuously pull you in and deal damage to you. That makes them very difficult to get out of once you're in them. And it turns out that that's exactly the kind of place Samurag wants to shove you into by pushing you around. So you want to generally just avoid these, but you'll also see that when you click on them, you'll notice that we actually have two options for getting rid of them. They have a health bar, so we can just whack them. And if they go down to 0 health, then they disappear. They also have a CC bar, and we can break that bar, and then we don't even need to deal with the health bar. Breaking the CC bar on the spears just also gets rid of them. However, the reason we don't really want to do that part as much is because we really need those CC skills for Samurag for saving our friends. So for the most part, if we're going to clear out those spears, we're going to want to do that by dealing damage to them. You know, if you're a ranged character and you happen to be able to throw a well onto one, or, you know, you can use, if you're on a scepter or something, it can throw some of that onto one that's sort of in our face, then that's good. If it's not really in our face, we can kind of leave it alone, especially here in the early times. But if there's one that's really up in our grill, we just throw some damage on it. It'll go away. It'll be fine. But just so you know what they look like. Okay, so that's the plan up until 66%. Then very different things are going to happen, but we can worry about that later. Is there any questions right now about what we're doing up until we get to that point? No, for sure, absolutely. We're gonna, and I'm gonna call everything. I'm gonna call everything as it happens to for these first few pulls. So no worries if things get failed. They totally will. It would almost be unfun if we just went through and it turned out that everyone just went, oh well, I guess we just killed him in one go without any mistakes. That probably would mean he's not a very good boss. So let's go make some mistakes.
Or Blood as Power.
This is not a boss where people tend to put a lot of condies on. I mean, it might. The Epidemic would maybe be good for helping to clear spears, but honestly, for helping to just keep our might high for everybody, I would say just bring the Blood's Power. That'll just help our druid and stuff with, you know, maintaining, and our heal brand with maintaining might across the board, which for now will be more important. So let's do that, and then we'll make some adjustments if we have to. Let's just go ahead and. It's not usually preferred on this fight, but. In any training ever, if somebody tells you that that's going to be a problem, then they're wrong. because we're here to learn the mechanics. So, frankly, I don't really care what you bring. But this is generally a fight where people tend to bring power, and that's because every 10%, he's cleansing all of his conditions and going invulnerable. So that means there's tons and tons of times where you have to reapply all your conditions. So it's not a great fight for a lot of condition classes, depending on how slowly they build up. But that shouldn't really matter here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to see when we run in, someone's going to be selected as the tank. They're going to try to keep him in the middle, and you're going to see him first do the raise up on the hind legs and claw at us. That means you're probably going to need to dodge through him in order to get to his butt, because he's going to be clawing right in our face, or block through, or whatever you have. If not, you can also choose to eat those claws to the face this first time and see how badly they hurt. You'll learn that they hurt very badly. But sometimes a visual of that can be more effective. All right, let's head on in there.
Battle awaits.
Okay, so here he's claw, and now shockwave. So you saw it was claw, and then he slammed down. And that's what happens. Yep, so claw,
Time to do
shockwave. And we're not going to go much longer. We'll reset here, but let's see if he does the other attack. And this is the other one. He swings the baseball bat, and then 2 swings in front of him. And
Very
both
well
of those can be avoided by just being right behind him. So here, both pillars up, it's claw, shockwave. So as you can see, he has really long telegraphs. So that part is good. And here again, claw, shockwave. So it is very, very telegraphed in that fashion. Let's see, is it one more swing? No, he wants to do this again. So here you can see, and I'm going to reset this in a second here. Here you can see one of these spears showed up. So this is one of those spears. It's right in our face. This is one we would probably throw some ranged stuff on just to get rid of it. Because otherwise, if you get in, I'm going to get in here. You'll see it's just going to like yank me in, and it's going to deal a lot of damage to me. And that's no good. Okay, we've seen a couple of those. So let's go ahead and /GG, /GG. If you haven't used that before, you can use that in raids and fractals to just auto-kill yourself. It just makes it a lot easier when a wipe is clearly happening to just reset the group. So yeah, so that's part of why we keep him in the middle, is because sometimes you can at least eat that shockwave, and sometimes you can still survive because you don't quite end up in the spears. Unfortunately, there he was a little bit off center, but also sometimes it's a powerful shockwave. It's going to knock you in.
Anvil to repair armor.
At the beginning of the wing. So you can go back to the lay rift, and you can take it to the first location. And there, actually, is there one in this? There is in most of the wings. Is there one in this one? I'm not seeing it on my mini-map, but I swear by habit that there is one back there.
You said talk to this, and then go... Which one?
Yeah, we're both going to learn. So let's go back to the cave entrance. Usually, most wings have one right at the beginning of the wing. And yep, there it is.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. So the only wing that doesn't have one right at the beginning of the wing is wing 7, which for some reason just doesn't have an anvil at all. But all the others, it'll be right. You'll eventually be able to get a mastery for raids that allow you to repair your armor right at the lay rift, which is part of why I have forgotten where they even are. But it's like a pretty minor convenience because you pretty much can always just use the lay rift to go to the front, and there's an anvil anyway, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so yeah, so once again, we're going to go in here. He's going to select somebody at random to be the tank, basically, for this first one. And then our main goal is going to be... Is it not calling target on him? Call target. Hey, maybe because we're not in there yet. Well, thank you. I don't know why mine's not calling. Well, anyway, thank you. So our main thing's going to be his first attack is going to be the swipes and shockwave combo. So we're going to dodge through that or block it or whatever. And then be ready right away, because right after the swipes, it's the shockwave. So be ready to jump that or dodge it or do whatever you want to do to it. Whatever that isn't blocking it, because you can't do that. So for the most part, we're just going to play stay on his butt.
Feel the fury.
All right, onward. So he should lift up here. And there it is. So it's swing, swing, and shockwave.
Ooh, not that time.
So you'll see he's following our purple diamond friend. Woo, there's the big baseball. Yep. So this is part of why the tank wants to move as little as possible, because if he starts moving around, it's harder for everybody to guess and be in the appropriate position. The more still he is, the better. So this is going to be Shockwave after the swings or the claws. And now here comes the part where he's going to jump the tank. So you see now he has a bar. You want to throw all of those control skills you got on him, and our healers can keep healing our tank through.
That
And
looks
once that bar
very
breaks,
painful.
now he's going to select a new tank. Here comes the baseball bat. So yeah, so he spun around and everybody was in front of him then when the baseball bat came. So here comes the claws and the shockwave. So yeah, just like goal 1 is always get behind him. Like even when he spins around, goal 1 is get behind him. That's one reason why it's really nice to be as close to him and as far in his hitbox as you can be, because then even if he does a 180, you can literally just walk through his hitbox and you're on the other side already. You don't have to like right now, we can just walk right through the hitbox. Here comes the next, so he's at 80%, gonna jump the tank, heal them through while we break that bar. Remember, that's the only thing you can do right now anyway, so you might as well do it.
Replenishing.
Very nice. That's shockwave.
Oh, someone's got a purple marker on their head. What does that mean?
That means they are the tank. Oh, watch out, roll through that. So since our tank was moving around there a lot, Sam was moving around, and that meant that people weren't in position to be able to easily get on his butt. So the less moving that the tank does, the better.
Maybe you'll think twice next time.
So we're going to have a spear kind of right on top of us. That one we might be able to, probably going to want to just get rid of. So he's going to jump the tank here. Our tank had very low health. So our tank is probably going to die just because they had very low health when they got jumped. And indeed, that is what happened. And I'm going to talk a bit about how we can avoid that when we're done with this pull. So a couple people got smacked into the spears. It's very hard to get them out. But good on breaking the CC bar, which allowed us to free them.
I'm down.
Good news. So here at 66%, we're just going to watch here for a second because we're going to do a force wipe. So he's going back into his dome here. We cannot follow him in there. You'll notice that he has spawned 2 friends. One Rigum, it's a little human, and one named Goldem, that's a big giant Norn.
I could outrun a centaur.
So just observe that they're both hanging out here, and he's safely in the dome. Okay, so we can GG here. Since we don't know the mechanics for this part. But that's what it looks like to get to 66%. It's basically just that same rotation forever of he has those 2 attacks. You avoid those 2 attacks, and then... Oh, so it's // GG.
I'm really sorry about that. I panicked when I got targeted.
No, that's totally fine. It's really like that. That's really like a common thing that happened, especially that sort of is part of why they like to do that in some fights, is to purposely, like, they know that that's not something players like to have on them. So that's totally normal. The best thing you can do when you know that you're the tank, which you'll see on your screen. You'll also have the purple diamond. The biggest thing to remember is that he animation locks well before he does anything. So you're going to have plenty of time whenever he starts to show whichever of those 2, and he only has the 2, whichever of those 2 he's going to do, your response to both of them is the same anyway as the tank and as anyone, which is to get behind him, which you can do by literally just, as long as you're tight on him, which everyone should be, you can just walk right through him and you'll go from his front to his back in 3 steps. The farther you are away from him, the harder time you're going to have if he decides to, say, spin 180 in baseball bat. Well, if you're on the other side of the map, so if you can't walk through him, okay, so this problem does come up. And I forget every time to mention that this problem comes up. So if you can't walk through him, that is because you need to go into your options. And this may be something you constantly decide to turn on and off depending on what kind of fights you're doing. But in a lot of raid fights, this is a pretty important one. So it's good to know about this. You go into your options, and just in your general wrench options,
Sure.
you scroll all the way down to the subsection that is called combat /
All right, let's put some
movement.
ink in here. And see
And
what's
if
like
you cannot walk
involved.
through him right now, that is because around the middle of that, you will have on something called melee attack assist. And what melee attack assist does is makes sure that you purposely cannot walk through things hitboxes. You want to have it off for this. Because what that does when it's on is it helps melee players because it doesn't let you walk through hitboxes, right? So that way, as a melee player, you can just walk up to an enemy, and slash and keep walking and not be afraid of walking right through them, right? So it's good if you're playing a melee character in a lot of cases because you don't really need to have your brain on as far as when to chase them around and stuff. But it's bad in these types of raid scenarios because we often want to be able to walk right through the boss's hitbox. That's a really good thing for us to be able to do in a lot of cases. So no. I mean, look at how hidden it is down in the things. And again, for a lot of players, especially in open world, it is a good thing. Because if you're going to try to go at them with a greatsword, the last thing you want to do is also have to worry about constantly hitting W a little bit to keep catching up to them or whatever. But here, it does stop you from actually walking through the hitbox. So yeah, you want to have that off. Then you'll be able to... Now this time, you'll literally be able to just walk straight through them. That should help a lot.
Not to interrupt, sorry. Those
No,
spears
please.
that were on the ground, are those the ones you were talking about that would be good to bring Epidemic for?
Yeah, so the one advantage to Epidemic for that is, now again, we're not going to have a ton of Condi people, although we have a couple today. And Epidemic always depends on the amount of Condis that are even being generated. So if there's not many to spread, it won't do that much. But it can be good for that because then, you can hit Samurag with it, and then that Epidemic will sort of just naturally spread to the spears, and you won't have to think too much about it, and they'll just slowly die to the Epidemic. I mean, try it. We're here in a training. Try it and see if it feels good. If it feels like it's helpful, then you can keep it. And if not, then you go back to Blood is Power. But what better place than here to try that? But for the most part, it looked like everyone did a good job. The main focus is just stay on his butt. And the reason why our tank died there at the end wasn't because we weren't doing the CC bar, which we did great, and wasn't because we weren't healing our tanks through, which we did great. But the tank's decision was to, and this makes sense, was to sort of dodge backward and out of Samurag's range a lot. But what that often meant was they were taking a couple of swipes, making them low, and then when they dodge backward, they're now sort of out of the range of most of the heals and boons that are being supplied by the group. So now they're sort of out on their own, having already taken a few swipes, and it's right then that we hit 80% or 70%, and so Samurag jumped them with a very low health bar. And it's really hard to recover from that in time. I mean, you could totally heal them back up through it while they're being pulverized, but that's a lot to ask. So that's another reason why it's good for the tank to just sort of stay on the group and be ready to just sort of do that 1, 2, 3 step walk right through Samurag to stay with everybody. Otherwise, that looked good. So we've seen that up to 66 phase. We're going to keep seeing it and keep making mistakes there, and that's totally fine. But we can now talk at least about what it is that was happening at that next phase. Because in a lot of ways, what happens there sort of is like the second to last major thing we need to learn at all. So we saw at 66%, he turned around and went back into his protective dome. When he's back there in the dome, we cannot do anything to Samurag, so there's no point in trying. We also can't walk back there. For all the game's intents and purposes, it counts that invisible line there as still being the spears, right? So even though that's like technically open, that line of spears goes right across there. So the game's going to consider you walking into spears if you try to walk through that. So you don't want to do that. And he then spawns those 2 different characters that we saw. Rigum, which is the small human on the right, well, from our perspective right now, and that's always the case, and Goldem, the large Jotun on the left. And again, that's always the case. And these 2 are sort of like, they're 2 allied or 2 friendly prisoners who are sort of caught up in some sort of weird prisoner's dilemma, jigsaw kind of thing. And they are connected by various sorts of magic in a way where if we kill Goldem, the big Jotun, all that happens is he pushes all of that damage that we give to him, he pushes that off onto the little guy Rigum. When Rigum's health hits 0, he just blows up and hurts us a ton. And then he just gets all of his health back, right? So all the time we're spending hitting Goldem the Jotun, it just gets all misdirected off onto Rigum. Rigum hits 0 HP, blows up in our faces, and kills us. So that's what would happen if we did nothing. If we didn't react to the mechanics at all, that's what we would experience happening. Furthermore, the 2 of them have buffs that they get the longer they spend close together. So when the 2 of them are touching with their like glowing auras or whatever, or you can just think of it as when the 2 of them are very, very close together, they just constantly get buffed and buffed more and more. Goldem, the large Jotun, gets stronger with the hits he gives us, and Rigum, the small human, gets a higher health pool. So it's going to take even longer to drain through his health pool the longer they're together. So for both of those reasons, we don't want them to be together very much. But that only fixes the problem of those buffs. How do we actually make it get out of that loop of Rigum just regaining all of his health and nothing happening, right? Because we're stuck in this loop. Well, it turns out that if Rigum explodes while he's inside of Samurag's protective dome, then it temporarily breaks the blood bond between Rigum and Golden. So the way we basically need to do this is we need to purposely lure and push Rigum into the protective Golden Dome where Samurag is hanging out. When he is in there, that's when we whack the Jotun until Rigum the Small Human dies. When he dies and explodes in that protective dome, rather than hurting us, what he does is he temporarily breaks the bond between the two of them, and then we get to deal 33% of Goldum's health bar. So he'll become vulnerable for 33% of his bar. So then we can just whack the Jotun for a while. He'll go down to 66%, and at that point, they will regain their blood bond. We just need to push/lure the small human back into the Golden Dome, let him explode in there, it'll break the bond, we do 33% more damage, they get the blood bond again, throw him back in the dome, explode him in there. You'll see a lot of groups that think that the bond is actually like on a timer, or that you have to keep Rigum in the dome the whole time or something. None of that's true. The mechanic is purely that they have the bond. Whenever Rigum explodes inside the dome, that's the only time he needs to be in there, is when he actually explodes. When that happens, the bond is broken for exactly 33% of the bar, so you have to do it 3 times. It's good to keep him in there anyway, just because that's more convenient, because he's already where you need him to be and you don't need to play weird shenanigans. But it's good to know that that's technically how the mechanic is working. So to that end, groups tend to purposely bring a number of utilities and skills and such that help push and keep Rigum inside of the dome. The most common one is for druids to bring longbow instead of axe and warhorn, so that they can use longbow 4 to knock them really, really broadly back into the dome. But frankly, a whole bunch of characters have the ability to bring launches and pulls that can assist a group in keeping Rigum inside of the dome. Thieves, when they steal from Goldum, are going to get mag bombs that pull, so the thieves can throw mag bombs to pull. I, as a power hollowsmith, am going to have my own rifle 4, which is pretty much the same as the longbow 4 that rangers have, that can push very heavily. Firebrands can bring things like the big old dome, the utility one. Keep wanting to say Sanctuary. Yeah, thank you. I kept wanting to say Consecration, but that's the name of the skill type. Yeah, so Sanctuary is a little funky, but can also shove things. Focus pull. Chronos can bring focus and pull. But basically anything that pushes or pulls, they're all equally effective on getting him into the dome. And then once he's in the dome, again, anybody who has things that can slow him or chill him or cripple him or immobilize him, those are all good too, because they keep him in the dome. So again, sometimes druids will be asked to bring Entangle to help with that, but pretty much anybody's probably going to have some way to do one of those things.
Okay, sorry. So you said I should bring bow, and Entangle?
Yes, if you happen to have the bow, then swap out your... If you want to try this, and you should, because most meta comps, most meta groups that you run into, if you end up pugging outside of a static, if you end up pugging, you'll find this is the most commonly expected thing. So it's just good to get used to it, because if you drop into a pug group for Wing 4, they're going to implicitly expect you to do this, basically. Though it's not nearly, doesn't really matter who does it. But what you can do then is, when we get to that phase, basically we will lure Rigum as close as we can over to the fencing, so that we don't need to push him very far. And then you'll line up the shot, you'll longbow 4 him back into the dome, and then you can use the Entangle and Staff 4. You can use both of those to just keep him in there. And we'll help out as well. Everyone else
Okay,
will be
I'll try.
invited to help out with keeping him in there as well, so you won't be alone in that task.
Okay, I got a bow.
Cool. So a couple more things to do. And again, we're going to talk them all out. I'm going to say them all as they're happening, et cetera, et cetera. We expect to wipe and miss them the first time, all that good stuff. But like Samurag, these two choose their tank aggro by who's farthest from them. And they recheck it sort of at random every little while. So if you happen to get the target for either one of them, the goal is really the same either way, and that's to be close to but not inside of the Golden Dome. So say we want to stack somewhere like Circle. Okay, that's fine. So if we stack somewhere like Circle, then no matter who are the tanks for each one of them, and no matter when they swap, it's not really going to matter because we're all clumped in the same place, so they're both going to come to the same place, which is where we want them. So we'll just stack up there. We will do this mechanic to the best of our ability. When Rigum and Goldem are both killed, then the fight resumes as normal. And we go back to the same phasing that we had before, with one exception. And that exception, do I want to talk about that now, or do I want to... Let's just get a pull in, and then we'll worry about it. It's pretty minor, but we've talked enough. Maybe we can even call it on the fly. That's always exciting. Mechanics on the fly is fun. Okay, so it's the swipes. You can dodge through those. And Shockwave. Alright, so let's GG right away. Let's get a whole group in for our start. So remember that he's always going to start with that attack. It's always going to be, the first one will be, he's going to claw at the front of us, and then as soon as he's done clawing, he's going to drop the pillars for the shockwave. So even if you can't dodge the claws, which you should try to do by dodging or blocking or whatever, but even if you can't do that, the most important one is to be ready for the shockwave, which comes right after, by either rolling through it or jumping it, but not blocking it. You can even bring some pocket stability if you like. Whoop. We can try to all get in time, but we're probably not gonna. Okay, so make sure to only go in.
My auto run on.
That's okay. So yeah, the spear wall closes very fast once the fight begins. So this fight, more than some others, it's really important that everybody's actually like up there and ready when they're ready, because anyone left behind gets very little time to get into the arena before they get closed off by the spear wall. All right, let's go get him. So it's going to be the claws first, so be ready to dodge through them or do whatever to get to his butt. Oh, he gave us lots of time. How generous. And it's going to be Shockwave right now. Pow!
You'll be doing that one for days.
And here's the baseball bat. Just be behind him and you'll be fine. Okay, Shockwaves.
Hold the line.
Okay, so stay up. So this one actually broke for a reason we'll talk about later, but we can just worry about moving into the next phase. So we just didn't get a CC bar there. Remember, as the tank, you really want to walk back through to his butt once he starts the animations, because you don't want to take too much damage when you're up there. You want to be full health when your turn to be pulverized comes. Which is going to be right now.
Shield us.
So save our friend with that
I could
CC.
outrun a centaur.
Very nice in that regard.
Hold the line.
I just figured out what Mag Bomb does.
Yeah, Mag Bomb is great. Not only is it good CC because of the pull, but also it's great for Rigum because you can pull Rigum right into the dome. It's almost like they purposely made sure Thief had that for this fight. They do very carefully pick Thief stolen skills in all raid fights, specifically so that they can aid mechanics. Like, they do that quite consciously. So it's always good to learn what yours do if you're going to play Thief in every new fight. because they tend to be on purpose. Okay, so in 3%, he's going to run back into the dome. Make sure you're not in his way when he runs into the dome, or he will pummel you out of his way. Okay, so out of his way. He's going into the dome. Now we can meet up at circle. And he's going to spawn the 2 friends. So this is the one we're shoving in.
I got stunned.
That's all right. I gave him a shove there. So he's in there. And if he dies while he's in there, then it will remove some of his... So you can see now, he exploded in the dome. We're actually hurting Golem now. At 66%, he's going to get a buff back. That means we're not hurting him anymore. And that just means... I'll talk about that stun in a second. And that just means that we need to push him back in. So for instance, Rigum just came back out.
Sorry.
Ooh, so we
I'm really
pushed
sorry.
him in a weird... No, you're good. We're good. So we just need to let him... We just need to give him some space. Let him lure
It's
him
almost
towards
off
us.
cooldown. It's almost off cooldown.
No, just let him lure him back towards the wall. We have plenty of time. So you're not going to be able to do anything to Golem right now. You'll notice he has this thing called Classic Misdirection.
Okay, it's off cooldown. I'm gonna try and push him
Alright,
again.
so we just need to, like... So let's stop doing damage to Golem so that we can, like... Because otherwise, we're going to just keep killing Rigum, and he's going to just keep exploding and not moving.
I'm really
So let's
sorry.
No, you're totally good. This is, like, very commonly what happens.
What are these
Okay.
golden tendrils coming from?
Okay, so now so that's the bond between them. That's the blood bond. And you'll notice that as soon as we kill Rigum while he's in there, that's gonna break. Oh, he's like just out of it. I gotta push him in. He's like so close to in it. If anybody else has anything to help shove him in.
Oh no, I'm hitting a spear. Fuck.
Things on
Oh,
cooldown.
that's okay, that's okay. Let's break the spear. No, I'm in the spear.
Okay, can I
Break the
entangle
spear, we
now?
can get our friends out.
Is it time to entangle now?
Yeah, so you can entangle him while he's in there. And that way he'll stay in there for a nice long time. So you'll notice there's no more golden tendrils because we broke the bond between them by blowing up Rigum in the dome. And when he hits 33%, he's getting the tendrils back. There they are. And if we explode Rigum in the dome, now there they went again. And so now we can just finish killing Golem, and once Golem is dead, we can let Rigum come out, or pull him if we have pulls left, and we can kill Rigum as well. And once we do that, we're gonna return to... Oh no! Big old stun drop on the group. Alright, get your friends up. Very good. Alright, now we just kill Rigum. And when we do that, we're returning to the normal part of the fight, except for the surprise mechanic that we're gonna learn about on the fly. So, normal fight for most people. 2 people, one's got an orange circle, one's got a green circle. Those 2 people need to stack on top of each other.
Gotcha. Ouch. That.
They're going
Sorry
to,
about
each
that.
person who gets chosen is going to see it set on their screen, choose your allies wisely. Those people need to find each other and just stand on top of each other. So orange circle person and green circle person.
I feel good.
And they need to get away from the group. So just back on up and find each other like friends.
Oh, I tried to revive and I got knocked back. Sorry.
Nope, that is what this fight wants to do to you quite on purpose.
You'll be feeling that
So yeah,
one for
people call this
days.
mechanic lock and key because one's the big lock and one's the tiny key. So you'll hear that get shouted out a lot.
Impressive company.
And that just means, okay, so lock and key. So a little green person comes to me and we'll just stand on top of each other.
I'm getting stomped
Bam.
on.
Okay, save your friend, who is also your tank. Unfortunately, they are dead. But we can keep going.
And I'm just
So we have a
DPS,
lot
I
of
wasn't
spears
thinking.
right now. So this is a chance for us to maybe take a little time to focus down some of those spears and give ourselves a little more breathing room.
I could outrun a centaur.
Right, because as you can see, it gets really hard when there's this many spears because you're no longer getting knocked back into safe space, you're getting knocked back into spears. And that is a lot harder to deal with.
Pain. I died.
Hold the line.
At least he didn't step on you.
True. Pop. Okay, we can / GG here. So, what happened here? Well, one, we didn't know a mechanic. That turns out to be really bad. But also, we sort of got overrun by spears, and that made mistakes regarding getting hit by Samurag's attacks and such a lot more punishing. Because when you land in spears, you're already low from getting hit by him, and then you're in the spear, which hits you a lot. And it's also really hard for your friends to come res you. So you have to like clear the spear before you can res the person. So it's just kind of a whole process. And so if we clear more of those in advance, then we have a little bit less of a problem here. So I understand that we only have so much time left. Do we have time to do one more pull or so? Is that where we're
So
at?
it's currently 6:09, so and I know you started a little bit later than the starting time, so what I'm gonna do is you have up to 3 more pulls if you like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, then definitely let's do it. So let's just get back in there. But I'm going to quickly recap what I think happened there, and then we can get back in there. So I already talked about focusing down spears a little bit more. Be mindful, and this is what the game wants to happen. It's purposely what it's setting you up to fail on. But be mindful of when you're doing something that isn't hitting a Samurag. You can't forget that Samurag is still doing one of those things. So if you're rezzing a friend, or if you're clearing a spear, or something like that, or if you're trying to line up lock and key, you still need to be ready to dodge his shockwave or not be in the way of his baseball bat or something. That's one that happens a lot to people on Cairn as well. So you've seen Cairn, and a lot of times people will start to res and they'll forget one of the mechanics there, and then that gets really bad. So just always make sure you're keeping an eye on one of the things he's doing. That's where it helps that he does such exaggerated telegraphs. But just to briefly talk again about the mechanic that I didn't get to talk about before the last pull, that final mechanic is called lock and key, and 2 people at random, and it's totally random, 2 people at random get selected for it. One gets that large orange circle underneath them, and one gets a tiny green circle. And both of them on their screen, they will see it say, choose your allies wisely. So that's how you'll know you'll have one, other than the giant or small green circle below you. There are 2 aspects to this. Oh no, that's okay. They'll have time. But yeah, so our Mesmer friend there, Elusive, you probably DC'd, so you probably just need to
Oh,
relog.
bugger. Everyone tells me this when I don't know.
It's so easy to, first of all, this wing drops people a lot. I don't know what's wrong with the instance code, but also it's really hard to know when you've DC'd when you're raiding because everyone's just standing around anyway. So it's not like you can watch people walk into walls or something to know that you're not there anymore. Because like when you disconnect, you're just going to see people standing there, which is already what they were doing. So
It's the only time it DCs. It's funny.
yeah, no, this wing is very bad for
Weird.
it. So anyway, so the 2 rules for when you have lock and key, in order to avoid damage, the 2 of you must be perfectly on top of each other. So not just one kind of vaguely in the circle of the other. You want to be right on top of each other. The way people tend to say that to do this, to keep the clutter down, sort of mentally speaking, is have the orange circle person walk out and just stand still. And then let the green circle person walk to them. If you're both moving around and fiddling about a bunch, you're going to be doing lots of these tiny micro corrections at the last second, like when 2 people get caught in the hallway and they're trying to like pass each other. You're going to have that happen, and then you're not going to be on top of each other when it actually pops. So the best thing to have happen is have the person that's the orange person, or whoever is the farthest, but have the orange person just get out there, stand still, let the green come to them. That won't always be perfectly what can be done, but it's ideal. And the second thing is make sure, more than anything, that the 2 of you get off the group. Because anybody caught in that orange circle that is not one of the 2 allies basically gets downed. It's not quite like that, but essentially they take enough damage to get down. So the 2 rules for lock and key: get off the group and connect. And if you're not one of those 2, don't be standing in the orange circle. Other than that mechanic being added at 66% after the Goldem and Rigum, there are, for all intents and purposes, no additional mechanics added to this fight after that. So if you have seen to 66% plus a little, you have basically seen this entire fight. And so after that, it's just a matter of mastering the mechanics, because from 66 to 33, it's the 2 attacks that we already know he does with the same 10% times when he drops onto the tank. And then at 33%, guess what he's going to do? He's going to go back into the dome, and it's going to be Rigum and Goldem again, exactly the same way they were at 66%, except now you're also doing lock and key. And then after 33%, when we finish Rigum and Goldem, he's going to come back out here, and we're going to do the exact same phase that we've been doing all over again, except he adds 1 more attack into his rotation, which is that he lifts his right spear up all the way like a spatula and just smacks it in front of him. And turns out that you can just stand behind him, which you were already doing. So the solution to his third fancy new novel attack is actually exactly what you would have done for his other two. So it really doesn't change the fight whatsoever. So really, we've already seen basically everything. So let's just go see if we can get it a little stronger in here. I'll drop some food here. Maybe we can power us through. It is power food. I don't have anything else on me.
Some food is better than no food.
True. All right, let's go do it. Ooh, I'm fixated first. Okay. So I'm going to walk through him here because he's locked in place. Shockwave. And then I'm going to go back in front of him and wait for him to start another telegraph. There it is. So behind him. Chill out here. He is starting another telegraph, so I'm going behind. And then when he's done, I'm going back in front. And again, I'm going to go behind. And now he's going to jump me. Nice, very good on that. So now we have a new tank.
Your time has come
It's a
again,
baseball bat.
Mr. Sir.
Plumhard, I'm sure you're going to feel very hard done by that one because you must have been at like 179 degrees of 180. But it really is the full breath like that. And here's our next chance to save our friend.
My golem's on cooldown, sorry.
This is one of the things that is tricky. You'll blaze through that first bar and go, oh, we're doing fine on CC. And then you'll get to that second bar and go, oh no, we actually hit him so hard that we don't have our skills back. So you almost sometimes have to temper your CC, I mean your damage a little to line your CC skills up, or just bring more of them. Comes the shockwave. Oh no, it's gonna get canceled for the pulverize. And now remember, we're at 70, so in 4% he's gonna go into the dome, so just make sure you're not in his way when he gets to that 66. And we can take that time to clear some spears. We have a few seconds. Throw a little on these. And then we
You
can
want
come
the
over
ones
to
on the
circle.
left on too, or are we good?
We've hit him a little. We can get to them later. So now we both come to circle so that both of them come in here. And then we're going to be, once Rigum gets close, we're going to give him a shove into the dome.
Oh, sorry.
Yep,
I
we're
thought-
good. So there he is. He's nice and in there. When he hits 0 while being in there, that will break the blood bond.
Replenishing.
Oh, he's like just out. Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
I can
We just
fear
got to
him.
get him back in quick.
I got him feared.
Good. That's perfect. So you'll see now the blood bond is broken. And that will stay broken until 66. One thing you've probably seen Goldem doing.
Ah,
Oh, so
that
that's
is
okay,
not
that's-
blood as power, that is grasping. Sorry.
Nope, that's okay. We'll push him back in. One thing you'll see Goldem occasionally doing is throwing down a big orange circle like that, which is a 1-second stun. So you can just either dodge or stability through that. But just in case you were wondering, why am I randomly getting stunned sometimes, Goldem does have one attack in his rotation, which is that large orange cone. Or that large orange circle, rather. Okay, and we broke it one more time. So now we can let Rigum out, because it will not come back now.
Now I can use
the blood
grasping
bond-
power.
Yeah, that's perfect for getting him back out.
Ah, what the? He dodged it. Oh, there it goes.
And then once we kill him here, as soon as we kill him here, we're going to begin the next phase, which includes the first lock and key. So those people are going to want to just back up.
Oh, I got
and,
this green circle
lock
on
up
me.
onto each other.
Oh, is that the friend's mechanic? Is the green circle?
Yep, there you go, and you both did it perfectly. Rah!
Hold the line.
Shockwave. So here comes save our friend.
Uh,
Still
I'm
got to
a
do
friend.
lock and key though.
Save me.
That was impressive.
Very good. Ooh, baseball bat. Ooh, good clearing on some of those spears. That gave us some nice additional room now.
Epidemic is your friend.
Yep, see, so okay, so we tried that and it worked. That's awesome. Okay, so it's lock and key. Get that off the group. The two of you just stand on top of each other. And yep, as soon as it like glows that little dome on you, then you know you're good to go. Save
I
your-
didn't
save
have.
your tank.
Did I have the purple thing? Oh, I guess I do have the purple thing.
Temperature normalized.
Don't let him stop me.
Oh lord. Whew.
I'm trying.
I love you guys.
Swing,
And then I get my
swing.
spikes. This fight is intense.
It is. No, it is. I mean, like I said, the mistakes are very punishing, for sure. And it's gonna be time to save our commander or our tank. Oop, lock and key time.
Back on solid ground. You will
Very
obey.
good. Oh, now I'm the final tank before.
Hold the line. Mantle
At 33%, he's going back into the Angry Dome. So just make sure to be out of his way, maybe clear some spears, but just more importantly than anything, don't be in his way, because that happens.
Oh, I got the greeny thingy.
Teleport away.
I thought it was a Thunderdome.
Okay, so we're gonna bring them both to circle, just like before.
I feel good.
Ah.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna... Alright, so just whoever's currently the tank for Rig'em, just bring him on over.
Friends?
Yes, lock and key needs to keep happening. We are now
We
in a
need to
phase where
change
that does not stop happening at this point.
Sweet.
Oh crap! I can't get you up.
I'm trying, but I keep getting.
Oh, you know what?
You're going to be very careful with the pulls on Rig'em. There we go. Now he's deep in there.
Oh, I got the green thing.
So let's have everybody stay on circle to the best of their ability. If you're not the lock and key, let's all try to stay on circle because that makes sure that no matter who's the tank for Goldem, he'll stay nice and near the dome, which will help us deal with Rig'em and other things that are going on.
Friends.
Okay, you'll see the blood bond is broken. Very good. And we'll have to do that one more time at 33.
I feel good. Feel my wrath. Hold the line. Supportive earth.
Okay, blood bond's broken, so now we don't need to worry about Rig'em at all.
Will obey.
Keep doing that lock and key. Ooh, so we got
stunned.
stunned during it. Yep, so that is something that definitely can happen. And I should have mentioned. Yeah, that is a possibility. Okay, so we'll kill Goldem, and now we kill Rig'em. Now he's going to show that new attack right away. So just stand back from Samurag and watch. He's going to do the new attack right away. I call it Pancake. That's Pancake. So he's just added that to his rotation. As you can see, that's literally the solution's the same as any other, which is just be behind him.
Into hollow.
And Shockwave.
Hold the line.
Baseball bat. Save your tank time. Lock and keys.
Impressive combination.
Very good. That's the pancake.
By my will.
Close.
Shockwave.
Hold the
I'm gonna
line.
throw a little love on the spear here. Oop, but not getting baseball batted for it though.
Ooh, I got it.
Save the tank.
I feel good. Supportive. I could outrun a centaur.
Little more. Nice. Pancake.
Maybe you'll think impressive combination.
We only need to save one more friend at 10%. Okay, let's just lock and key. Okay, so
Oh.
he's doing something right now
What-
called
what is
pulling
all
the
this?
spears. So
Ow.
at certain points, he yanks all the spears in. If you're in his hitbox, they basically never hurt you. Even if you're not in his hitbox, they'll hurt you. But he also literally clears the whole arena of spears. So it's almost always a good when he clears spears. Like that's almost always a boon for the party.
That hurt.
Yeah, if you're not in his hitbox, you do have the possibility of getting hit by one, and if you do, it probably does down you. But on the other hand, rezzing you is easy because there's now no more spears on the
Ooh,
map at all. So it,
4%.
you know, comes and goes. Let's send him home.
Hold the line.
Nice.
Easy.
Oh wow, nice.
That's Samurag.
First try.
Yeah. Close enough.
Every
Very
try's the
nicely
first
done.
try.
Hey, you guys did it. Congratulations on your first Samurai.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you
fantastic.
for training.
Of course,
Thank
it was a
you.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much all
Sorry
for your
about
time.
the stun thing. I tried to run.
No,
away.
it's and it is the place where any pug group or any group at all, it's almost always going to go wrong at Rig'em and Gold'em because more than anything, what's going to happen is the group can totally do the other parts, but if you lose lots and lots of time to Rig'em and Gold'em, the time limit here is not super tight. But if you lose like 2 or 3 minutes to manipulating Rig'em, you can hit the enrage timer here, and if his little timer runs out, it doesn't insta-kill you like some fights do, but he starts doing quintuple damage on everything.
Oh,
And you imagine that means that the party doesn't. That's basically the end of things. So it
that
is
would be a
very
one
common,
shot, wouldn't it?
pretty much on anything he does. Yeah. So you really do need to watch that with the timer. But the only time that's going to happen, I mean, you saw we were fine on it. The only time that happens is if you end up juggling Rig'em and Gold'em for like ever. So it's just important to make sure you know going into that phase. Okay, this person's going to push Rig'em. This person's going to make sure they bring immobilizations to keep him in there, or you three, you all have pushes. Just keep an eye on them. You know, as long as you've done that in advance, it usually ends up okay. Just want to make sure you've had that communication. I mean, as you saw, we did totally fine with it. And if you did it even more often, you'd get even more comfortable with knowing, oh, okay, we're the 3 people who can do this part about it, and then gets through. Yeah, that's definitely the hardest part, especially since it suddenly throws a lot of random like little mechanics at you. This random NPC's got this buff. This random NPC's got this buff. They do a lot of that in that phase. But on the other hand, the offset with this fight is like basically once you've seen that at 66%. I mean, they do throw new stuff at you after that, but I mean, really, there's like a 65% more of the fight where they don't really throw too much else at you. So that's sort of the nice thing. You get lots of time to master just those mechanics. See, as promised. See, as was foretold. But yeah, all right. I don't want to keep you all. We've done what we've come here to do. So,
Thank you so much.
Very
Thank
much.
of course, hopefully, I'll get to see you all for some more stuff soon.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, so
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you so much for your time. I'm actually going to pull you into the chat below us, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown on how we're going to do things. And just 1 second.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Whoa.
Hello.
Hi,
Oh, hi,
Candy.
Hello,
Candy.
Candy.
Okay.
I was the only quickness.
What? I was too, but we're in the same bloody side.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's deceiving, Gene. I worked this out last one. I was like, why is my quickness so perfect?
That last
Oh,
Rig'em
Gene's
pull,
doing
I
it.
did not mean to use grasp on him. Pulled him way out.
I
Lies
legitimately
control.
got stunned there. I was
Happy
like, oh
little
my fucking god.
accidents. How are you today, Candy?
I have a meeting with a recruiter in 3 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully,
Are
they give me
you-
some leverage over my current company.
Yeah, sounds like it should be good. If they try and offer you like 20K more, you just go up to your company and just like, you want to lose me? Because if you don't give me a raise, that's how you're gonna lose me.
Pretty much. My boss is leaving,
Oh, she is?
so I think as soon as I hear of like change, my first instinct is to like run the fuck away. So
Why is your boss leaving? Is she just like going on sabbatical to heal or some shit?
no, her partner's very unhappy living in Melbourne. So they're moving back to Brisbane to be closer to family and also to have nicer weather. They didn't anticipate moving so quickly, but she got an offer within a week.
I bet moving is gonna be hell on her
They have to pay for 2 weeks of hotel quarantine, which is $3,500 for the first person and $1,000 extra per every member of their family.
Holy crap.
Not just that, like her feet.
Yeah, so she's got to get up there somehow. I don't know how you're going to fly. I think she's going to get, currently got screws and pins sticking out of her foot to hold all the
Yeah.
bones and stuff in place. So I think she'll have to get those removed.
That's where the saying "pins and needles" comes from.
Is it?
No, fair enough.
No, I don't think they would force her to. I think they would do like the metal detector ones.
I think they will remove the pins before she flies. So
Also,
Um.
I'm gonna head out here now, guys. I'll message Callie.
no.
Later.
I
Kyle.
have things to do tonight, Candy. Maybe after they're done, we can hang out. I'll help you more.
All right, we're
Trey.
back.
Hey there.
Take care, Koa.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Have
go
a good night,
ahead
Koa.
and head out
Enjoy.
here.
Enjoy your D&D.
Like,
Yeah. Thank you very much again for the teaching. I
Yeah,
really
of course.
appreciated it.
No, thank you everybody for your time. You all were super fun to work with, and yeah, hopefully. I mean, I don't know how it'll all shake out, but hopefully, I'll get to see you all for some more raids of various sorts and more giant party wipes like that.
Okay. But I'll catch you guys later.
thank you,
Later.
Koa. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Bye,
Like,
Koa.
Bye.
Vera, what would you like to be called?
Yeah, I mean, you can just call me Belle, which is the short of my in-game name.
Okay.
Vera is also fine because that is my actual name. So I totally don't care. But I play so much Guild Wars that this is my in-game name is now basically my name. So I'm more
You know
likely to
what?
react to Belle than anything
That
else.
has happened to me too. I have not reacted to my real name and reacted to Gene more times than not.
Yeah, so no, that's how I feel about it too. So I mean, either one's fine by me, but you're more likely to get me with Belle than with anything else because that's just sort of what I'm used to in these kinds of spaces.
Thank you
But I
for
appreciate you
the
asking.
training.
Yeah, it was super fun. I like that fight a lot. It's definitely a good time. It's quite a change of gears if you all are moving on anytime soon to the next fight. But
I'm used to doing heal brands for or heal brand for like CM fractals, and I've never really touched raids before.
oh, okay. Well, I mean, but CM fractals will definitely have prepared you for a lot of the types of skills that you need for this. It's a little more chaotic in fractals because they're sort of smaller bursts of stuff, but you know, a lot of those end fights, especially in like Shattered's end fights and CMs, demand the same amount of recognition of, you know, mechanics and things as these do. So
Yeah, I'm on a mission to get all of the pretty purple things.
Hello, Jade. How are
And,
you?
Hello.
One of them I have to do via raids. Well,
How
two
was the
of
wedding,
them.
Jade?
Yeah, it's okay. It's going good.
yes, there are some raid lock